Are you ready to get philosophical?
I fucking love this shit.
Beautiful listeners, you are worth all the stars in the sky.
Hell yeah.
And at least 2 perfectly cooked grilled cheeses.
Hell yeah. Does a bear shit in the woods?
Sometimes. He's been known to shit in a liquor tent. Yeah, pick up a book, losers.
Pick up a book, losers.
Welcome to the Based Banter Podcast.
Welcome to the Base Banter Podcast. I'm your host today, Jerry. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host and best friend, Joey. What's up, man? Introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Joey. I am a streamer on Twitch. You could find me at Arcano Joe. I'm also an actor, a former professional wrestler, and an artist.
And that is what's up. He's basically a superhero with a side hustle. I am a musician and producer, amateur producer. I produce this podcast, and I'm also a podcaster. And that's awesome.
He is the intergalactic podcasting producer, supreme overlord of the Based Banter Podcast.
And if you have never heard of me, then good. That means I'm doing my job.
Hell yeah.
But not really, though. Anyways, how you been, buddy? Man, what's new in your world?
Oh man, I'm just following my hobbies, relaxing a little bit right now. Just got a promotion at work, making a little bit of money, building up that credit score, kind of like focusing on some of the adulting aspects of my life.
Dude, and there's nobody I know more deserving of a promotion than you, Ben. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. I worked super fucking hard on that, and on paper it sounds easy, but in the retrospect of everything that I had to do to get to where I'm at now, it's a huge fucking difference. And I've been struggling, dude. Let me tell you, I have not a dollar to my name, and that is going to change.
And I love that for you. So I've been thinking a lot lately.
Hold on, pause. Before we dive into this, it would be selfish of me not to ask, what have you been up to here lately?
What have I been up to? How do you know I wasn't avoiding answering that? How do you know you didn't just put me in an uncomfortable, awkward spot that I was trying to avoid?
Well, that's the point. That's why I'm here, man. We got to break down these barriers. We got to find out who we are and what we do.
Which is a pretty good segue. But what I've been up to lately, I've been refining and dialing in my music. I went to a concert over this weekend and met some really cool musicians and experienced an amazing show from 3 amazing bands and got to talk to all these amazing people and connect with the fans, and it's inspiring.
Do you happen to know the names of these bands by any chance?
I'll mention one.
Shout out
to Frail Talk.
Frail Talk. Hell yeah, that sounds cool as fuck.
They were amazing. It was a 3-piece.
Okay.
And it had a male and female vocalist, and they were together, they're together, so it's kind of like a couple kind of band, and it was just really amazing. I love their dynamic and everything that they're doing, and their drummer is really cool. I got to talk to him the most, and he ended up being really cool. We're now following each other and stuff, but Frail Talk, they're amazing. And
hell yeah.
If I ever get the opportunity to see them again, I hope I get to. And if any of you have ever heard of them or see them on a bill that's coming up, dude, you would be fucking remiss to not see them.
Hell yeah, dude. I love that. I hope they blow the fuck up, man. And then the fact that you got to see them, kind of at their early stages of their career, that's a big fucking deal. Because, you know how hard it is to make music and how hard it is to get popular and to take all these gigs and to go out and put yourself out there in the scrutiny of criticism and to kind of really be on the forefront of the scene. And it's a really difficult thing to do.
Well, when you put it like that, it sounds pretty damn daunting.
It did, dude. Anything you're passionate about, that you want to be successful at. It's not easy. I mean, a lot of people who don't do shit, it's easy for them to point fingers at all of these successful people and say, oh, well, they're only successful because of this and that and the other. No, dude, fuck you. Everything takes work and effort.
To some extent. Because a lot of people are born more blessed than other people. And I'm not saying that as a discredit to the people that have worked hard. I'm just saying that in perspective, that some people are, I guess, in a place to where it is a lot easier.
Right.
To put it into simple terms.
Right. It reminds me of that thing that PE teacher did. It was an experiment he did with his students where he had them all line up. Them. He fought one of them at a time. He's like, everybody line up. We're all going to fist fight. Whoever wins gets to go home
Did he
early.
get through the whole class?
No, he lined all the kids up and
No, he got arrested first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He went to jail for some nefarious deeds. But he lines them all up and then he's like, everyone who has a dad or a mom, take 2 steps forward. Everyone who lives in a 2-story house, take 2 steps forward. Everyone who has food on their table every night, take 2 steps forward. And then now everyone else
and then
start running, and then it's like we're all running the same race, but even though there's people who have these advantages, you would find that the kid at the very end of the line could still win the race.
But then who's tripping them whenever they start racing? Because that's a whole nother aspect to this race that we run.
That's the government, buddy.
God damn it. Once you know it, we're canceled again.
But anyways, since we've diverged, I want to go ahead and stop this whole little stratosphere.
We're going to stop this recording entirely. See you later.
See you guys. That's been the Base Banter Podcast. Thank you for listening. But no, back to the topic at hand. I understand that you possibly have a subject for us. You being the host of this episode, what is it you want to talk about today?
Wow, buddy, look at you pulling this train back on the rails for me. That's supposed to be the host job.
Hey, man, we're
co-host,
a team.
brother. But co-host, man. Hey, I appreciate that. All right, so today, I've been thinking a lot about identity, right? And identity is just a word, and you think about it as kind of light, but I want to get right into the minutia. I want to get right into the deepest sides of identity, because there's nobody we spend more time with in our lives than ourselves. And there's nothing more important than who we think we are, and that's our identity. You know what I mean? You see what I'm getting at here?
Absolutely, man. And I mean, it's really hard to put into words, especially coming from yourself, who you are. Usually we rely on other people for that.
Yeah, external validation. But that's going to start me off on a very, very difficult question. And I understand if you can't answer it so readily. But who are you?
Well, first and foremost, I am Joey. I am the co-host tonight of this episode of the Based Banter Podcast. I am an entrepreneur. I am an artist. I am an actor. I am a streamer. And I am also a very good person. I'm down to earth. I'm open-minded. I believe in everything that I can't disproven. I believe that there's more to the surface of the life that, we can't really see. And I love esoteric, arcane energy. I love all things that are weird. I love animals more than people. And I love positive vibes and positive energy. And I'll give everyone a chance in my life. And even to fuck me over, I'll give you another chance. I'm just that kind of person.
So what's really cool about identity is that you got to think everyone else lives their own identity. So you said you think you're a good person, or you are a good person.
I hope. I mean, that's really up to everybody else.
You boldly stated, you was like, I am a good person.
Well, let me tell you why I know I'm a good person.
Hold on, wait. Before you go into that, I want to ask you, though, like everybody else that does what they do, they probably think they're a good person too. And if they don't think they're a good person, they think they are good at what they do.
Right.
Thus making everything that they do justified.
Right. Like I had a dude sit in front of me one time and he was really down and out and he was trying to figure out why he wasn't as good as everybody else. And he was looking at me. He said, dude, you've seen me. I'm great at everything I do. And immediately I thought, dude, that's the most egotistical fucking thing I have ever heard come out of a human being's mouth.
Because that's such a broad expression. Everything.
Right. That's an egotistical confidence that will be the downfall of a lot of people.
Because nobody is good at everything.
When I say I'm a good person, I don't mean that I'm good at everything. I mean that I care a lot, and I will do.
Okay, so what I think of whenever you say you are a good person, because there is an overlap between what we think is really good that a person should do, and then the overlap of what we do and who we are and what we do. So what you're saying is you have kind of found that equilibrium, and found that balance between what you see and believe to be a good person, what your values are, and what you do and who you feel like you are. Does that sound about right?
Right. And I see it in other people, and I see the lack of that in other people, right? Like the selfishness in our culture today is what drives me to believe that not a lot of people are very good people. Lack of empathy, lack of effort, lack of care and communication. These are all things that are very easy and simple, and you don't have to work hard at doing this if you just cared more about your brothers, your sisters, and the strangers.
See, one thing I don't like is messages that are very braggarts. Just like, I have more of this than you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
am more this than you.
Right, like I have 2 million followers. What do you have?
And that shows the sign of just like a weak person. Like, it's hard to define a good and a bad person because all of that is subjective, and in context too, you could say someone is good or bad, and then there's a lot of gray area in between. But whenever I hear stuff like that, I really want to push it to that bad side. It's like, no, bragging is a fool's idea of victory. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, and especially coming from someone who is a huge fan of professional wrestling, being a former pro wrestler myself, one of my favorite wrestlers was Rob Van Dam. And one time I got to peek behind the curtain and I got to see the truth of who Rob Van Dam is as a person. And it really made me not like him anymore. And what it was, it's very simple and it's very stupid, but he was all about himself.
That is a really cool segue into identity of who we are and the alter ego, right? Because I'm sure his alter ego presents someone entirely different than who he really is. So how can someone who lives their life and who they want to be and who they present as? There was a question there somewhere.
How can someone live their life and be the person they want to be and be the person they want to be presented as, right?
That's the question you want to answer.
How can someone live their life? Okay, so to answer this complex fucking question,
So complex.
I think that presentation about who you are and what you want to be, it shouldn't come unnaturally, right? Like you shouldn't have to think about the presentation of who you are. It should just be you being yourself. As cliche as that is to say, I think that it's important that we tear down this wall of guarding our personalities and stop worrying about what people think about who we are. Be yourself, trust that you are a good person, and do things that you think that make good people good.
Well, that sounds very easy in theory, though. Sounds really easy in theory.
Well, it's not easy because being good is a lot harder than being a bad person, right?
Because it doesn't take a lot of effort to just not care and
Yes.
to treat people like shit.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's easier to just cut in line, get in front of people, and get yours first. It's easier to, and it makes more sense too, honestly. And it's easier to talk shit about someone than to give them compliments. It's easier to fucking think about yourself before others. It takes a lot of effort to put in time and energy to help someone when you could just move on.
What ways have you figured out your own identity? Because you have had alter egos in wrestling. You've had alter egos in acting. And you probably have an alter ego in streaming too, yeah?
With streaming, I I really am just myself, you know. I feel like that's the way for me to express myself and to have
whenever you say just myself, that sounds like you have figured out sorts of an identity.
Yes, because being an actor and being a pro wrestler, there are roles you play. And such as life, there's roles you play in other people's life. Like, for instance, I have a son, right? And I have to give him advice. And sometimes I have to give him tough and difficult advice that he will not understand right now. But later on, when he gets more wiser, more mature, he'll understand the content of the subject matter I was relating to him. And it's difficult to play these different roles and still be yourself, right? So you have to kind of step out and understand the role you're playing. So for instance, right now I'm playing the role of the co-host. So I'm not going to dictate where this podcast is going to go. I'm going to let you take the wheel. I'm just in the passenger seat. But another episode, I'll be the host. I'm going to have to assume that role. And I understand that comes with a change of my identity, that comes with a change of my urges, my wants, and my desires, right? So I'm going to have to make decisions that will be affected by how I feel in the moment.
That was a very solid ass answer. I really appreciate that. But there's a little bit more I want to talk about because me personally, I went through a breakup earlier this year. I know you didn't ask, but I'm fucking bringing it up.
What happened to you this year? Was it something serious, by the way?
I went through a breakup to where me and someone was really connected to a certain point, or maybe there was an attachment of sorts, like a toxic sort of attachments. And then whenever it was over, as many breakups are, you question who you are as a person. You go through the cycle of trying to separate yourself from who you was. And one of the biggest things that I was trying to figure out was like, what do I enjoy? What do I like? Who am I? Who am I? And it's crazy to think that a relationship, something that's supposed to bring you closer to somebody, something that brings you joy in some aspects, some satisfaction, gratification, ended up leaving me confused on who I am, and it left me wondering what's next.
Right. And to me, you know, I'm not a psychologist, but I have been through a series of heavy breakups. You know, I've been divorced. I've been married. I have a child. I've been divorced. I've been in 4-year-plus long relationships, and those ended where I lost everything.
You had a harem, lost a harem.
I had a harem. All 15 of my women left me. But no, I've been there, man, and it's not an easy thing. And for anyone to say that it is they're just straight up lying. And if I had to say anything to anyone going through a very similar situation, such as yourself, I think that when you attach so much of your identity to one thing, there's a huge risk once that thing ends, right? And then you are left thinking these questions. So I'll ask you this. You are a full-ass human being prior to this situation and prior to this relationship. You've lived over 20 plus years prior to having that relationship, to being with that person. So, you know, there's a whole ass human being who was alive before you even knew she existed. And to attach so much of yourself to one particular instance of your life that in the grand scheme of things was a flash in the pan, be it, yeah, it was a failure. But
failure is a harsh word.
Listen, buddy, I'm all about being a truth speaker. Look, if you don't succeed at something, you fail. And you learn more from failing than succeeding. And you grow more from failure than you do from winning. And if you're going to go through something that's worth going through and you fail, the takeaway is that you become a better person from it. So my perspective is that you didn't lose who you were. You grew who you were. Now that you're asking these questions, it doesn't mean that you lost who you are. It just means that you're going to add to who you are. It's like baking a cake, right? you had these ingredients. You had sugar, you had flour, and then along came your girlfriend, and she started adding in, baking powder and fucking setting
Salt.
and salt and salt.
We don't need any more fucking salt.
But then she left, and you're left with a preheated oven, and you still have to put the cake in the oven, and you're like, well, what the fuck else do I do? The answer to that question is whatever the fuck you want, buddy. You were you before she came along, and you will be you a long, long time afterwards.
Well, this is kind of veered towards the side of relationships and relationship woes, but that is not at all what I was trying to go for.
No, because
I was letting you speak because this is very helpful information for someone that has gone through this.
Yeah,
and I don't mean to deflect this and sound like, but I'm just saying I've gone through this. But the identity crisis that I had was something I've had in the past. But I want you to know that today we're talking a little bit more about what is identity and what it can mean to somebody. Because, okay, so before I met her, I had an identity that, I was not complete. I had an identity saying that I didn't have everything that I needed. And then my identity then merged and melded with hers, thinking that I was part of this collection of me and her. And then we separated. And then my identity then shifted again, being like, well, there's a part of me missing. But now, let me tell you, dude, I have, and I want everybody to understand this, that listens, that you have everything you need to be okay.
Hell yeah.
There are essentials in our lives that keep us healthy and alive and going. And everything past that, man, doesn't matter because you have everything that you need to be okay. There are resources even beyond that. Like if you feel some type of way, if you can reflect deeply on it, and if you can learn the sort of vocabulary around it and really understand what you feel, there's a lot of ways to progress yourself into a better feeling person and a more savvy person.
Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of people attach their identity to their relationships, right? Like even when a relationship is going on for so long, other people will combine their names. Like my last relationship, I was with a girl named Chelsea, and people used to call us Josie or Chelsea or
shout out
Joey.
Chelsea, I guess.
And me and her, we're still cool. We're still friends, but that's part of the whole merging of identities, right? And then once it ends, you're left trying to pick up the pieces. But like you said, dude, you are you and you live with yourself. You live with yourself more than anybody else. And I think personally, the fun part of life is finding out who you are, deciding what role you want to play. It's like a video game, right? You get to pick your class, you get to pick your skills, you get to distribute attributes into skills and shit.
And what's really cool about this role playing too, right, is that you decide the role you play. Because, dude, you can go to sleep one person and wake up another. That doesn't mean go and shift on the people that care about you. But I'm just saying, if you need to change bad or awful traits about yourself, you could, in most cases, I would like to believe that you could wake up and be like, I'm not going to be a piece of shit person today. I'm not going to manipulate, lie, steal, and cheat. I'm going to do better. I'm going to be accountable. I'm going to make up for everything that I've done. I mean, you could wake up tomorrow and you could do everything that you need to do to get to a better place.
Right. My question here with all of this is, how do we get bad people who don't give a fuck about anybody else to realize that they need to do better, right? To change their identity for the better of everyone around them. How do we relay this information in a way that they can digest it so that they can reflect on who they are and how to live better? Because a lot of people are so oblivious to the personality traits that they don't even realize that they are toxic, that they don't even realize that they have terrible personality traits that lead to creating a terrible world and experience for those around them. How do we convey that message? How do we reach these people?
there's nothing we can do. And that's fucking grim. That's really sad and
Right.
depressing to say.
It comes from within.
It comes from their own self-awareness and realizing their impact on the people around them. That's where it starts. Like, that is just like the breaking point. That is where it all starts, is where they realize, oh, hey, this person I care about really got fucked over by me. And hopefully it doesn't come to like something that bad to where somebody has to be affected by it. But a lot of times self-awareness does come from your fuck up. You fucked up. You hurt somebody with your actions. And then maybe, just maybe, that one of these people that you're talking about, because good and bad is just really subjective terms and it puts people in a box. But maybe someone that has done bad can have some self-awareness and realize, hey, I hurt somebody. I hurt people. That's not what I want to do. This is the trials that I will go through and the tribulations I will face just so I won't hurt more people, because that's accountability.
Right, but then we have the grim reality that life promotes being bad. There's this stigma that you want to be bad. Women particularly like the bad boy. They like the guy who doesn't care about anyone else but himself, who treats them like shit. The good guy finishes last. They put the good guy in the friend zone. They want to be treated like shit. And then there's that guy sees that and he's like,
Brother.
I'm sick and tired of fucking trying to treat people good because it gets me fucking nowhere. So I'm going to start treating people like shit because that is what brings me success.
Brother in Christ, you proved your own point right in the middle of what you were saying, because the women that are into that kind of thing are also being fed that same propaganda, and they are in the mix. It's not the kind of people you would want anyways, even if that was what you were after with your, altruistic good goals. The kind of people that would want that kind of people aren't your people.
Right, but a lot of people are so afraid of failing with their own ego that they'll find one person that they want, and then they decide, well, I have to do everything it takes to get this person. I refuse to fail, even if it means I have to change who I am at my very core.
And you know what it takes to change? It takes a little bit of a break, and it takes a little bit of understanding. So with this, we will be right back. Are you tired of trying to focus using caffeine that tastes like yesterday's mistakes? You need Dubby. It's the clean, zero sugar energy and focus formula. We skip the crash, the jitters, and the terrifying ingredients list. We use natural caffeine and smart stuff like L-tyrosine to help your brain cooperate. Zero sugar, maximum focus, no weird side effects. Seriously, it just works. Where have we heard that before? So, stop panic sipping and start focusing. Get Dubby today. Head to dubbyenergy.com and slap our code in there, Base Banter. And at the checkout, for 10% off. Don't that sound like a deal? That's W Energy, code Base Banter. So now, focus up, and you got this. And welcome back. I have to say, what an interesting break. I'm sure you heard some amazing ad reads. But right back to what we were saying about identity and losing yourself, because there are several different things that can make us question ourselves and wonder who we are at the end of it. Such as a relationship. You go into a relationship and you kind of like meld your identity into somebody else, because you are no longer just who you are. It's who you are plus another person. And that can lead you down some awful roads. That can lead you to a point to where you are compromising your values. You're compromising what you really believe in just to stay with somebody. And then that can make you wonder, like, are you a good or a bad person for doing something like that?
Right, right. And then we have, these people who they decide to make these choices. And a bad breakup can really break someone. That's why they call it a breakup, right?
Because you're broken.
It breaks you down, brother. It sucks, man. And the way I look at it, dude, and this is kind of like a hot take, but I'm sure some people will agree with me. A lot of people might relate with this, and if you do, I hope you seek help because
this is a horrible take, I'm sure.
No, I mean, like, look, dude, I get it, dude. I get it. Life fucking sucks, right? Life
and
is
then
hard.
you die.
And then you die. And then, someone comes along into your life, and it's like everything doesn't suck so much, right? Everything gets a little bit better. And then you're happy, and then things are going great. But then things start to not go so great. And then things start to suck. And then you break up, and you're left feeling alone, hurt, and you want to hurt people because you're hurt. I get it, dude. I understand. It's like that whole analogy. You can't take the sunshine without the rain, right? You can't have good without bad. There's going to be this level of this kind of like balance and harmony in life. All things down to an atomic level are inherently good and evil. And you have to make a decision in your life what path you want to take. Are you going to let your experiences with your past dictate who you are? Are you going to let your past be your identity? Are you going to let your heartbreak dictate how you feel and how you project onto the world? Dude, I fully understand why you want to break every girl's heart you see, and why you want to cheat on every girl you see, and why you want to fucking hurt every person you interact with, because you feel so much pain and so much hurt that you decide that you want to get revenge on the very existence of who you are. I get it, dude. I understand why you feel so much pain, because it sucks. It sucks to feel so low and to feel so bad, dude. I fucking understand. But you know what? That's a choice. That's a choice you make. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be this bad person. You don't have to assume that identity. You don't have to take that leap and to be that negative aspect of the world that you see and you validate. Because you know what? You can't decide whether or not you're going to allow that kind of thing to impact who you are. Because if you do, you're just giving in. You're giving up. You're giving up the values of what makes you who you are. It takes a lot more effort to be a good person and to have a good identity than it does to be a bad person and to have bad identity.
And I find it really interesting that we started off this conversation about identity and we ended up talking about breakups, because so much of what we think about ourselves depends on how other people around us treat us. Because a lot of our identity, like who we even become, is shaped by our caregivers, our parents, or whoever was giving us care growing up. And then once we're adults and we think we have our identity figured out, we meet somebody, and then the identity changes, and it evolves, and it grows, and it's shaped into something else, and then it's severed, and then you realize, what identity do I have? Who am I? You know what I mean?
Right. And I'm here to tell you right now from my professional experience is that, dude, you're not the perspective of other people. You're everything that you want to be, dude. You're all of your hobbies, you're all of your interests, you're all of your favorite things, you're everything that you want and you love. Dude, if you like playing music and making music, if you like making art, you're that person. Whether you're good or bad, fuck what other people think, dude. You do that shit, and that makes you happy. Fuck them. Fuck how they feel about you. It brings you joy. You're an artist, even if your art sucks. You're a musician, even if your music sucks, dude. Enjoy that shit. Let it bring you joy. Be the good you want to see in the world.
And there's definitely a point where like a lot of it is subjective. A lot of people don't like the taste of this, but they will like the taste of this. And then empirically, I can speak in terms of music, right? Because if you are off rhythm, if you can't follow the beat or the pulse, like, okay, that is actually like bad. That's actually bad. Or if you're off pitch, when everything that you're trying to present is, in our Western culture of things where it fits in a 12-tone temperament, like, that is actually bad. But that's not saying that what you are trying to create is bad. There are ways that the artist can bring their own individuality into things, and it is amazing the different approaches that we bring, the different flavors. But so if you can separate what you are doing from good and bad, because some things are bad, like I was saying, like if it is off pitch, if it's off tempo, you can correct those things. Those things can be corrected, and then the rest of what you are trying to do can be amazing. And that basically can go with everything, though, because if you think you're a bad artist, well, like a painter, well, maybe you just ain't using the right colors, the right shades, the hues. Like, it's something that could be improved on. But if that is you and your identity and what you believe and what you can do, brother, sisters, like that's what you should go for. You should figure out what you like and who you are, and then embrace it and build upon it, and then that can be your identity.
Well, yeah, and then also I'll add to that and say that it's all subjective, right? Your opinion on what you view is good and bad might be a little bit technical, right? With like the technical jargon as far as like pitch and shit and such. But even a bad song done poorly can be good to someone who doesn't give a fuck about what's done well. A terrible song might bring them joy because it's so fucking bad, it's hilarious. It makes them fucking laugh, and they fucking die of laughing. Dude, we just did an acapella intro just fucking around that was so goddamn bad that I was dying laughing. And I know a professional would look at that and be like, dude, the pitch is off, the tone is off, everything's off, it's all fucking shit. But I know.
It was so fucking funny.
It was
so hilarious.
Fucking hilarious. And this is the same thing with art too. Like, there's artists who will literally put a fucking single dot on a white canvas, and someone will walk by and be like, man, that's a fucking masterpiece.
So wait, here's the question though. Do you feel bad for making that though?
No, because honestly, what makes me feel bad is if I don't feel like I put enough effort into something. And I'm a victim of my own personality because I can overdo something because I never feel like it's enough. Whenever what I've done and have promoted to other people, they're like, damn, this is fucking good. I'm like, dude, I've barely finished that shit. Like, it still has so much work. What do you mean it's good? But in their mind, it's fucking done. It's a masterpiece. So we live in our own prison of our own fucking making, where we have these rules and these boundaries set where we decide what's good and what's bad for ourselves.
And that is an amazing place to bring this to, because identity, because who we are is slightly influenced by the people around us. But if we can get past all that noise and figure out who we want to be and what makes us happy, I think that's how you measure success.
Right. True joy comes from just fucking doing shit and putting it out there and just being happy with the fact that, you know what, I've done this. I've done it. I've done this. Like, I wrote a book, right? It's 150 characters long, and the kind of
maybe not 150 characters,
or 150,000 characters. Sorry, my bad. Typo.
Yeah, I didn't want
It's
you to be like, I wrote a paragraph. It's
I
a
wrote
book.
a fucking sentence. No, it's 150,000 characters long, and I just want to keep writing. But to someone else, and once I get to my conclusion, it's already fucking done, and they're gonna think, "Damn, dude, this guy he fucking killed it. I wish I had thought about this." When I'm thinking, dude, it needs so much more work. It's the same with my art. When I was working with the Museum of Art and I was trying to finish a painting about a tornado, I wanted to keep adding shit. But my teacher was like, no, it's done. You don't have to add any more to it. But in my mind, I was like, no, I need this, this, and this. But she kept telling me, she's like, no, dude, you're going to overcomplicate it. You're going to put too much into it. You'll never feel like it's done. You just need to come to a point where you have to accept that you're done with that. You have to accept your identity and your growth and where you're going with who you are. You've reached a point where you need to move on to the next thing. You can't focus so much on one thing that you overlook everything else.
What a wonderful anecdote for what I'm saying about the balance between who you are, because a little bit of who you were was a little bit of a perfectionist, wanting to put out like the absolute best and greatest thing. And then the other half of it being identity of like, this is who I am. This is what I put out. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it makes a fucking statement.
Right. As long as it elicits emotion, it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. There's always going to be someone who's better than you. Deal with that. There's always going to be someone who's worse than you. Deal with that. Be the best version of yourself. Focus on doing what you can and just continue to grow, dude. That's all we can do as people.
A big part of the identity and the struggle of figuring out who you are is battling the ego. Because ego is this hyperinflated sense of self saying that you are the greatest. You are so much more than this and that. I mean, ego has its place. It has a role. It would be a shame to just like put aside any bit of ego and be like, well, ego is just absolutely wrong. Ego has a place.
No, dude, ego is so fucking important. The most successful people in the world are so egocentric. You would be shocked at the fact that they don't think about anybody but themselves. Michael Jackson, for instance, I don't think that dude really gave a fuck about anybody else's music but himself.
But then that comes into question what you really value, because maybe you value yourself more than everybody else. And we live in a world where community really helps everybody thrive and survive.
Right, which is why I have to state that anytime in my life I have ever grown and had growth as a person, it was because I reached out to people who were better than me. It was somebody who was better than me in professional wrestling. I had teachers like Les Thatcher, Tom Pritchard, Ricky Morton. I had artists and teachers in my museum who taught me how to do art. If I had this impression that I already knew how to do everything, I would never do anything.
And that is a very important lesson in ego, because ego can be your detriment or it can be a tool. And the ways that it can be a tool, though, we didn't explore on, because ego says you are great, you are fucking perfect, you are all of this and that and a bag of chips. And you know what? Maybe sometimes we need a little bit of ego. Sometimes
Absolutely.
we need that voice saying, you know what? I deserve better than this, because the truth is, man, we do deserve better than some of our treatments.
Right, and you know, from a fighter's perspective, right? If a fighter is fighting in MMA, right, and they end up losing a fight, they get this idea that they're a loser, and then they start losing every fight they do. But a fighter who has that ego, who has that supreme confidence. They go into every fight knowing they're the goddamn best fucking thing on the planet. They win every fight they have.
And what you're saying breaks it down to the most primal level of it all, is about survival. Because a fighter who cannot win a fight is not much of a fighter, is not much of a successful fighter. Someone who cannot make it through the challenges of life isn't really making it through, are they? And that's where your ego says that you can make it through and then some. And then our identity follows behind the narrator in our head. Because whoever we narrate ourselves to be is who we end up becoming.
Right. And I have a question for you, Jerry. As someone who is alive on this planet, dealing with your own identity, what aspects of your identity do you feel like describe you and who you are? Who is Jerry? Because you asked me at the start of this. I'm going to ask you close to the end of this. Who is Jerry?
I like to believe, right, because I can't say wholeheartedly, because one of the points we made earlier was waking up and making choices and being a different person. But who I like to believe I am is somebody that's compassionate and empathetic and someone that is for the community and believes in everybody else around me. But then that's not entirely identity, because identity is about the sense of self. And that is betraying my sense of self. And that's something that I'm learning too, is that I have to be more of my advocate.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you because your energy that you give to other people is identity. It is identity. If you live to serve, that's your identity. There's nurses out there who all they want to do is help make this world a better place and help people. And would you sit there and tell them the same things you just told yourself? Fuck no. You would be so happy and proud of that person for being so selfless that you'd be like, dude, you're such a much better person than me. I wish I was as good as you. But you are that person. Every one of us who are listening to this podcast right now, if you have this personality trait to serve others, you're a great person. Just because you decide that you want to live your life and benefit others and live for your community doesn't mean you have lack of identity. It just means that your identity is a service. You serve others. You're a great person, dude. That's just the bottom. The bottom fucking line is your identity is someone who is inherently so good that you decide that you want to put more positivity out into the world.
But
B-U-T-T, wipe this shit away.
there is a big ass butt, like a dump truck on this.
Dump truck. She thick.
She need a CDL to drive this.
THICC.
She need a CDL because, but if, look, takers, people that take don't know no limits. They don't respect your limits. So as a giver, you will be bled dry. And that was the point I was trying to get at too about identity, is that I see myself that way, but I have to learn to set those boundaries, because as much as I love to see people happy and love to be happy and like feel fulfilled, if I don't have those boundaries and I don't set those limits with people, I will be bled dry.
Dude.
And the same with the people that you were describing too. If they don't put up, like if they don't put that same sort of energy into themselves, they are going to feel, they're going to feel empty, and they aren't going to succeed at the fields that they want to achieve in.
Dude, no, listen, I get that. I understand that. And I'm the same way, man. And I have this thing that I tell every girl that I get into a relationship with. I am very easy to manipulate and abuse and cheat on because I will trust you. I will put everything I have into this relationship, and I will believe everything you say until I have evidence proving otherwise. And that makes me a victim a lot of the time. But I refuse to change who I am as a person to put up these guards and these barriers to prevent myself from being hurt. Sometimes, as a person, you have to decide that you want to keep your values and your identity, even though it means you might get hurt. And that's why choosing the right people in your life is so important. You have to be able to recognize these red flags in others so that you don't get hurt. But you're going to. As someone who serves, as someone who's a giver, the people who are takers gravitate to those. Bad people gravitate to good people. It's this balance and harmony. It's this yin and yang balance that we have in this universe where the good gravitates to the bad. The light gravitates to the dark. The evil gravitates to the good. And that's just how it is. That's how it's always going to be. And that's how it will always be.
And I still find it so deeply fascinating that even in this talk of self, this talk of figuring out who we are and our identities, that it still is reliant on relationships and how people treat us and how much we give to another person and how they treat us and what that says about our identity.
Yeah, man. I mean, what is life without your relationships with your loved ones, your family, your friends, your significant other, your children, your parents? This is all part about the human experience, right? I mean, if it wasn't for that, we would be robots. We would all live in a series of ones and zeros. There would be no good and evil. And without good and evil, we would have no fucking joy. We would have no sadness. For without sadness, we would have no joy. Without joy, we would have no sadness. It's like the same thing I said earlier, dude. You can't have a sunny day and appreciate that sunny day without that fucking stormy ass, rainy, shitty day.
And you know what? That is a amazing point to leave off on, because you know what? Even though we may experience amazing, awesome days, we do have to appreciate the days where everything is going wrong and it just feels awful. Just because it makes those days where everything goes right mean so much more.
Hell yeah.
And with that, this has been the Bass Banter Podcast. You can find us on all of our social medias. I will plug in a little bit of a outro because I personally can't remember what all of them are right
Look,
now.
before you dive into the outro, I just want to add a little bit into this. Just for any listener at home, if you're dealing with feeling like you have an identity crisis, you're not aware of who you are or what you're capable of or what you can do, just trust in yourself. Be yourself. Become the best version of yourself little by little, day by day. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to take steps. These are small, little movements in your day-to-day life that will help benefit you and the people around you. And as long as you acknowledge that, this world will be a better place. And if you're a terrible person, continue being a terrible person, because we need your bitch ass to fucking make these great people even fucking better. I love that shit.
It's called contrast.
It's called balance and fucking harmony, baby. And without these pieces of shit people, we wouldn't have the great people we have today. And I will go ahead and let you drive it home. But if you're not familiar with how to find us, I'll go ahead and let you know right now.
Yeah, you got it, buddy.
Buddy, if you want to keep this conversation going, because I know this is a heavy topic and everyone's gonna want to weigh in on this shit, because we all have an identity crisis here at the Bass Banter Podcast. And if you want to let us know what you're feeling deep inside, you can always find us at the Bass Banter Podcast on Facebook, Bass Banter Podcast on Instagram, Bass Banter Pod at Twitter, X, if you will. And our Discord is still in the works. We're cooking that bitch up right now, baby. As always, this is the Bass Banter Podcast. I have been the co-host with my host, Jerry here. Thank you for such an amazing topic, Jerry. It's been so insightful, dude. I love talking about these deep, introspective conversations because it makes me feel some type of way.
And you know what? What would I do without you, buddy? This has been the Bass Banter Podcast. Peace.
Peace.